so you can have equipment. And in fact, many places, they even had as many as 8 radiant warmers, but they were being used as baby coats. So you can have equipment, but without proper use, the equipment is useless. So that's one of the things we are trying to address. The equipment used well, the procedures we have in the newborn unit performed correctly and timely. I think, to me, that is one of the big things we have achieved. And so the issue of CPAP, radiant warmer, and the other big giant, we call the big giants, the 3 big giants. The third one is the phototherapy lights. The use of radiant warmer. Radiant warmer, we simply just used to put babies like a cot, and we didn't know there's a pre-warm mode, there's a baby mode, there's a manual mode. People just use the mode at which the people who sold the product to them had set it. So in most places, it was in a just manual mode. And we didn't know how to use the temperature probe. The temperature probe helps the radiant warmer to just give enough heat. So what was happening is that babies would get overheated when they're in the radiant warmer, and people reduce the heat, or they would get cold and people increase the heat. And that is all gone. Now people are using radiant warmer. In most places, we were using oxygen only, but we do know, and that is what is happening in the high-income countries. They're using CPAP, and they have managed to reduce the mortality, or CPAP reduces the mortality by 40%. So oxygen, just the ordinary oxygen, will reduce the mortality of respiratory distress syndrome by 25%. And adding CPAP, use of CPAP, it reduces the mortality by another 40%. So you find mortality is reduced about 70% just because of using air, oxygen, and CPAP. So in developed countries, that is happening, or in high-income countries, that is happening. But in developing countries, we are not doing that. So the mortality was very, very high. And we didn't know that actually this is something which could be done that easily. We used to use fluorescent tubes, and we did not have a way of measuring the dose of irradiance we are giving. So sometimes you'd give very low dose. In babies, you're supposed to give up above like 25. So some places we have been measuring, you find it's 3, it's 4, irradiance of 4, which is just less than the placebo. So, and babies would stay there for a week under phototherapy lights. Right now, in most places, babies are just staying a day and they're out of phototherapy. And in many places now, even in our tertiary care hospital, we are not doing exchange transfusions because we are giving effective treatment using the LED lights which we have given in the NEST program. And it's because we are also using the light meter. So I think for us, one of the big things we didn't have is that the measure. So we're not measuring the oxygen we are giving. So the use of pulse oximeter was very low. We are not measuring the heat we are giving. We're using the radiant warmer, so we are not using the temperature probe. We're not measuring the dose of phototherapy, so we are not using the light meter. And with the use of these measurements, we have really improved care, and people are happy that they are able to tell they're giving good care. So before COVID, it was face-to-face. So we would go to a facility and we carry our equipment, a truck of equipment, or because in the NEST bundle we had that and we had 7 pieces of equipment. Now we have 8 because of glucometer. So we'd carry all the equipment and we'll travel with the biomedical engineer, with the neonatal nurses and the pediatricians. And in every group, we would have also a neonatologist. So we'd have face-to-face training where the clinician would give the theory of the disease, the biomedical engineer opens the machines and explains about the machine in front of people. And then we had the neonatal nurses talking about how to connect the patients to the machine and monitor the patients with getting the care. Now, we only did 2 facilities and then COVID struck. Nobody knew how we would deal with, nobody knew what COVID was, but during that time, of course, we could not have face-to-face training. I can say in Kenya, we rose above COVID. And in fact, we learned more things than what we would have done without the COVID. And we found actually we could do webinars. We were able to do it in a way that people understood. And the webinar was oversubscribed. We had over 1,700 people registering for the webinar, but our capacity that time was 500. So you could only take a maximum of 500 people. And so people demanded a repeat. So the following week, we were back and with the same webinar. And this time now, as we continued, we are of course polishing and improving. And after that, we actually knew we could give the whole series